Am I the a-hole for not supporting my sister after our niece/her stepdaughter talked badly about her publicly? The title might be confusing, so let me explain. All names are fake, by the way. I have two sisters. Jenna, 38 female, is the oldest, and Kate, 36 female, is the middle. I'm 28 female, the youngest of the girls in our family. Together they had Belle, 16 female, Kai, 14 male, and Soren, 13 male. When the kids were younger, Jenna discovered that Kate and Joe were having an affair. She kicked Joe out and cut off all contact with Kate from that day forward. The kids were all at least somewhat aware of the fact that their dad and Aunt Kate were together too soon for it to not have started when he was married to their mom. It ruined Kate's relationship with the kids. They were close before. Jenna was always glad that the kids sided with her and didn't start treating Kate like a second mom. Kate and Joe eventually got married, and Kate tried to act like she was now just a stepmom to the kids, or more like a second mom. I sided with Jenna and made it clear to Kate that I thought she and Joe were completely in the wrong. Even if they hadn't betrayed Jenna, which they did, they made life so much more complicated for the kids. Of all the kids, Belle is the most vocal and clearly against Kate. She has told Kate that she hates her and has made it her mission to make Kate's life difficult every time she's with her and Joe. She doesn't ignore the fact that her dad is also to blame, but he seems far less interested in healing his relationship with his kids. However, Kate cares a lot, from what I've been told. I don't really see or speak to her anymore, but I'm close with the kids, and other family members occasionally see them together. Anyway, Belle has really been making things hard for Kate, which bothers her. Until recently, Kate thought she could win them over, but then she found out that Belle had publicly shared with friends, their parents, people at school, and people in Kate's life who she works with, that Kate and Joe had an affair and that she and Jen are sisters. People have turned on Kate, which has affected her socially and at work, where she's now being snubbed more often. Kate was hurt and tried to come to me for comfort and advice on what to do about Belle. I told her she should talk to our brothers, 33 male and 30 male, or someone who actually supports her. I explained that I wouldn't be able to give her any good or helpful advice, and that she's just dealing with the consequences of what she did to our sister. She told me I could still be a better sister to her instead of refusing to offer support, and that no matter what, we're still sisters and she did nothing to me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Unfortunately, Kate fooled around and found out that anyone in your family still talks to her is very compassionate and forgiving. Have either Kate or the husband tried to reconcile with the family and apologize for their dastardly behavior? Kate could seek counsel from a therapist or a pastor, or literally anyone outside of the family. To claim that she has done nothing to you so you should support her shows she doesn't understand the severity of her actions nor how it has impacted the entire family. There was never an apology. Joe never cared enough about the consequences to make one. Kate did care a certain amount, but more so I think about the consequences to her than the hurt caused. The fact that she lost the respect and love of the kids was a big thing. But also she lost me, Jenna, and our parents mostly. Our brothers talk to her the most, but even they don't have a close relationship with Kate anymore. When Kate wants you to be a better sister to her because she didn't do anything to hurt you, respond with, "You haven't done anything to hurt me yet. The future is open and you have proven that you can do it." She did do something to hurt OP. Any compassionate sister/aunt would be hurt having to watch the devastation Kate caused to Jen and her kids. What to do? Don't sleep with married men. Not the a-hole. Especially your sister's husband and the father to your niece and nephews. Not the a-hole. Hilarious of her to ask you to be a better sister after what she did to Jenna. She's reaping the consequences of her own actions. She needs to take her L and live with it. She decided sleeping with her sister's husband was worth losing everything and everyone, so I don't know why she's so confused now. Honestly, I think she believed she would fare better than most affair partners because the kids already loved and had a relationship with her, and it would take away 99% of the consequences that come as a result. I also don't think she expected so many family members to completely turn their back on her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not being friendly with my partner's daughters now that they've warmed up to me? I'm 42 and I'm dating Tim, who's 59 and a widower. He's in banking and I'm a bartender. I know how it might look, and his two daughters thought the same thing. But they're wrong. Tim's actually broke, while I have a trust fund. Tim's financial situation stems from his late wife's battle with cancer. She fought it 3 times, and he maxed out 6 credit cards, took out a second mortgage, cashed out his retirement, everything he could to fund her treatment. He wanted her to live long enough to see both their daughters married, and he succeeded in that. His daughters live a 6-hour drive away. For the past 2 years, we've driven to see them for Christmas. Each time, they ignored me, dragged Tim away whenever he tried to include me, and even talked over to me to keep their husbands from making small talk. The first year, Tim confronted them, and they apologized. To him, not to me, saying it was just painful seeing him with someone who wasn't their mom. The next year, they did it again. This year, I told Tim I wasn't going. I made it clear he should absolutely go see his daughters, but how would it be going along? Tim wasn't thrilled with the idea because having me there means we can split driving duties when his back starts bothering him. He also hates flying. Since his old 2010 car is practically falling apart, I leased him a comfortable luxury vehicle. My brother has a dealership. Tim was excited, especially because it meant he'd be able to see his daughters more often without worrying about his back. But when he told them, they blew up, accusing him of spending their mother's money on a fancy house and car to impress some bimbo bartender, and complaining he didn't help with their wedding costs. In the argument that followed, it came out that they assumed there was a life insurance policy payout. They had no idea about the credit card debt, the second mortgage, or that Tim nearly faced foreclosure and bankruptcy until he moved in with me. They also didn't realize that my house covers our expenses and that he only contributes to the water bill. He takes excessively long showers and shared groceries. Now the daughters want my number, saying they're sorry I felt lonely at Christmas. They also want to come visit us next year, conveniently in the summer since I live near the beach. I've told Tim I'm absolutely not giving out my number. If they visit to see him, I'll be polite, but we are not going to be friends. If they had talked to me for even 2 seconds before, they would have known the truth. I'm not shy about admitting that the only thing I've ever done to maintain my financial state is not develop a crippling coke addiction like my cousin Danny did. Tim thinks I'm being too unforgiving. He believes they would have warmed up to me eventually, and that knowing now how generous I am with their father just sped things up. I stand firm that I don't care whether it's now or later. They had their chance to not be catty brats based on incorrect assumptions that I was taking advantage of him. Info: did your partner ever do anything to correct these assumptions, or was he keeping up the lie to save face? Yes and no. Yes, because I don't believe Tim had any idea the girls weren't aware that it's my house. I've heard him refer to it as my house to the girls. I also heard him tell them I worked as a bartender for fun, that I don't need to work. No, because Tim is 1, prideful, and 2, protective of them. He shielded them from what was going on behind the scenes, so that they could spend as much time with their dying mother without being worried about him. I know he mentioned some things about the move, helping him when he first told them he was moving in with me, but the argument was the first time he actually laid everything out to them in no uncertain terms about the house and the debt, and cashed out 401k, etc. I'm probably giving him the benefit of the doubt because I love him, but I think he thought they would figure things out without him having to spell it out, and that their coldness to me was solely because I'm not their mom, and they miss her so much. Not the a-hole. You don't owe them a damn thing. That being said, they're his kids, and you gotta consider that if you don't extend an olive branch, that means he will be pulled in the middle and eventually push will come to shove. Is that something you're comfortable with? You make a good point, and I don't know. Right now, I'm like, sure, I can go back to doing my own Christmas with my cast of characters. Did that for years before Tim and I got together. But what happens with birthdays? His 60th is coming up. That's a biggie. What happens when the girls have kids and he wants to go there more often? I'd asked him to move in with me so he'd have less stress in life, not more. Don't let them come visit in the summer. They want free accommodations near a beach. That's a privilege that has to be earned after at least 2 to 3 years of treating you right. Let them visit, but don't let them stay in your house. They can get a hotel that they can pay for themselves. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents live with me after they loaned me money to buy my house? About a year ago, I, 29 male, bought my first home. My parents generously offered me $20,000 toward a down payment, which they framed as a gift. I was extremely grateful, as they knew I'd been saving for years and wanted a place to call my own. I even invited them to celebrate with me the day I got the keys, and everything seemed fine. Fast forward to 3 months ago. My dad unexpectedly lost his job, and my mom's part-time work isn't enough to support them. They called me up one day and casually mentioned that they'd be moving in with me until they get back on their feet. I was stunned, as they hadn't asked. They just assumed. When I hesitated, they reminded me of the $20,000 they'd given me for the house and said it was time I paid them back by helping them out. This was news to me. They'd repeatedly assured me it was a gift, no strings attached, and that they were just happy to help me achieve my dream of home ownership. Now they were calling it a loan, even though there was never any mention of repayment, interest, or expectations of them moving in someday. I was hesitant but willing to talk about it, and I suggested they stay temporarily. They dismissed this and said they'd be moving in indefinitely until things turn around, adding that they'd expect full access to the house, and even suggested taking over my office as their bedroom. They also told me they'd like more say in how I run my home. After all, they helped pay for it. Feeling cornered, I explained that while I love them and would gladly help in other ways, like covering some of their bills temporarily or letting them stay for a set period, I wasn't comfortable with them moving in indefinitely. This is my home, my sanctuary, and I've worked hard for it. They were furious, saying I was ungrateful and that families should support each other. They also claimed that since they invested in the house, they're entitled to live in it as long as they need. My dad even hinted he'd take me to court if I didn't pay back their loan, though I am fairly certain he was bluffing. Now, several family members have weighed in, saying I'm the a-hole for turning back on my parents after they helped me buy my house. But I feel like they changed the terms after the fact, and I don't think it's fair to demand indefinite housing when that was never part of the deal. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to let my parents move in after they loaned me the down payment? Now for the comment. If I was in your shoes, I would take out a loan for what they gave you and hand the money to them. Tell them you are done and walk away. I've actually been considering that exact option. It's frustrating because they originally insisted the money was a gift. But if paying them back fully will restore boundaries, it might be worth it. I'd have to adjust my budget and take on extra debt. But honestly, that feels like a better solution than constantly having to defend my space or argue over my independence. Thank you. Don't let them move in. Do not let them move in. You will regret it. They will never leave. Think about it. Always there, changing your home until it's theirs. Until you get so fed up you'll want to pack and leave. They gave you the money as a gift, and now they mismanage their finances or reframing it, as in lying that they invested in your home. BS. Don't let them move in. Not the a-hole. Thank you for this. Honestly, your perspective has helped reinforce what I was already feeling deep down. You're right. This is my home, and it's somewhere I worked hard to make my own. I've been nervous that letting them move in would mean losing all sense of control over the space I've built. It's already overwhelming knowing they're insisting on things like taking over my office, and I'm genuinely worried they'd try to change even more. The fact that they're reframing the money as an investment after saying it was a gift has thrown me. It feels manipulative. And while I want to help them in ways that make sense, moving in indefinitely isn't the answer. Thanks for backing me up on this. I needed a reminder that setting boundaries doesn't make me a bad son. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my sister's kid with a family friend after she was hours late picking him up? I, 36 male, agreed to babysit my sister's son, 8 male, last Friday night so she could go to a friend's event. She said she'd be back early Saturday morning, and I was happy to help. I even planned some activities for us before she came by, since I don't often get to spend time with my nephew. Saturday morning rolled around, and by 9 a.m. she hadn't shown up. I texted her and she replied that she was on her way, so I didn't worry. We had breakfast, hung out, and waited around until about 11 a.m. I texted her again, mentioning that I had plans at 3 p.m., and she replied with, "Be there soon." By 1 p.m., I started getting anxious because I still hadn't heard anything more. I tried calling, but she didn't answer. I left a voicemail reminding her I had plans later in the afternoon and needed her to let me know her estimated time of arrival. By 2:30, I was really stressing. I had been planning to leave by then to get to my friend's party, but she still hadn't shown up or answered her phone. Finally, around 3:30, after calling and texting with no response, I reached out to a family friend who lives in my building. She's known my family for years, and my nephew and sister know her well, so I knew he'd be comfortable and safe. The family friend was happy to help. So I explained the situation and left my nephew with her, giving her my sister's contact info in case anything came up. When my sister finally picked up her son at 5 p.m., she was furious. She accused me of abandoning him, saying I'd had one job and should have waited. I explained that she'd promised to be back in the morning, then ignored my texts and calls. I also told her I'd left him with someone we all trusted. She said I should have sacrificed my plans, even if it meant waiting all day since family comes first. I feel guilty for leaving him, but I was hours late to my own event and frustrated by her lack of communication. Am I the a-hole for not waiting for her to show up and leaving my nephew with a trusted family friend? Not the a-hole. The child's mother wasn't there at the predetermined time. If she was willing to actually get in contact with you and be upfront about the actual arrival time, she could have had a say in where her child will be spending the remainder of the time. Definitely not the a-hole. She should have been more responsible. I'd like to believe this is fake, because it's ridiculous to think anyone would behave like this. But these days, it seems pretty likely. Of course you're not the a-hole, and I guess sis will need to find a new sitter because I would never be willing to help her out again. My niece would do this stupid stuff with her kid. She did it to me once. I called her phone every 5 minutes until she finally came and got her. Nobody would babysit for her because of it. And her daughter was still an infant. That's how quickly she burned her bridges.